and that's great. But you know something? I'm going to put democracy in hold for a few months and try this American swing. Sir?
I was there in 1967 when there were 100,000 people in the streets protesting the Vietnam War. I was there in 1971 after Kent State when there were 100,000 people protesting, and it didn't do one goddamn bit of good. Richard Nixon was reelected on a peace platform because he had a secret peace plan, which was to not do anything. What it got us was Ronald Reagan and PATCO. Is there any reason to believe it would be different now?
No, I don't believe. I think that, but the problem is, are we just going to roll over and not try? So I don't know. Maybe I'm Charlie Brown, and you know, and the Republicans are loosey with that football. I don't know. But all I know is I can't not do this anymore. I can't rely on the system. We went up to the legislature this time around, and you know, I got myself in all sorts of trouble by going with Terry Cole from the Chamber of Commerce and supporting the $230 million capital investment plan. Got myself in all sorts of trouble because people said to me, "You're giving the governor a reason because you're supporting Terry Cole." I said, "I don't care. When you're a drowning man, you need that lifeline." And $230 million worth of statewide investment projects, which is what the governor was talking about, there was a little poke in it. They can't stop me doing that. Rather than handing this over to the legislature in January, a legislature, which if you believe that these guys are Democrats, you haven't been paying attention, is going to divide up this money, $25,000 for band instruments and $50,000 for a senior center and things like that, because that's how they buy votes. And the governor's plan of a statewide investment, including $40 million for Paseo over there. I'm opposing Bond 12 because I would like to see, I would like to see infrastructure development. But this sports center, to me, is, I'll guarantee you, somebody behind the sports center was somebody who was making large contributions to Mayor Barry's campaign. I can guarantee that right now. When we get into the sports center, which hasn't been talked about, you want to invest in a sports center? We got the State Fair sitting over there. I'm not doing anything with. That's the place to put your money in a sports center, where the people are that need that development, that desperately need a sports center to attract people to their area rather than a casino, so to take more of their money. So I believe in capital development. The Democrats are the ones that shot this down. I can't keep going back and begging anymore, because you know something, these are the same people who will be coming asking us for money. We've made a commitment from the top, from Rich Trumka down to myself, and when I was elected the president of the Federation of Labor, I made a commitment that we're not going to fund any candidate. I don't care, because you know something, we're wasting our money. We're going to spend our money on our own political agenda. And the days when every Democrat candidate come up and got their $2,000 or $5,000 from the AFL-CIO on this state's gone. They haven't figured that out yet. They don't think I'm serious. I'm standing here tonight to tell you I'm deadly serious. No individual candidate donations for any legislative candidates. We're just not going to do it anymore because we've been disappointed over and over and over again. It's not happening. We're taking the money out of politics, our money.
Hey, John, I got a question for you. Michael, I think the difference is with the Vietnam era, as you're saying, is that more people are hurting now even than then, because the tax rate structure is so unbalanced and there's more people unemployed and just a more desperate situation of our neighbors and people. So that's why I do have hope in the Occupy Albuquerque, and we are the 99% movement. And thank you for coming here, John, and mentioning it and talking about it so candidly. So you're not going to be giving money to candidates. I think that's a great idea for you guys. How about boots on the ground, walking for doors, and you know, what will you be supporting? Because I think you got a lot of power, and I'm just kind of curious. Like, will you support our blog, maybe?
Absolutely. Well, our program and our community affiliate, Work in America, which is young people, some of them are over there, Ken Kennedy tonight, are young people literally knocking on doors, neighborhood to neighborhood. It's one-to-one. It's having a conversation. It's not simply taking TV ads or ads in the newspaper. We're not going to helicopter this in. We're having one-to-one conversations across the city and across the state, because one of the things that they haven't noticed with the Citizens United decision, that even though we created corporations as individuals and this unlimited amount of money, you can't buy what we have. 72,000 members and their families, you can't buy that. No amount of money can buy passion, determination, sheer will. And knocking on doors, I've challenged my people to knock on doors until the knuckles bleed, to walk each street till their feet blister, because this is our election. This is the last time around, maybe the pivotal election. This is the one where we're at it, all in, chips on the table, and that's what we plan to do. This is going to be hand-to-hand combat, and you cannot buy that, because you can buy TV ads, and you can buy all the positions and the spokesmen, and you can buy all the politicians that you want to buy. But when it comes right down to the feet on the street, the message to your neighbors, we're hurting, we need to do something about it, is what Labour is going to take. And we're no longer constrained from just talking to Labour, because as in Citizens United, the constraints on corporations spending money went, but it used to be that Labour could only talk to Labour. And a lot of people didn't understand that. Our money could only be spent in communicating with Labour. Now we can communicate door to door, and we don't have these lists. Michelle, you know the lists. There's a Labour member here, and the 2 streets over is a Labour member. You're going to buy people who you know support what they are. You can go by and see the person with the 1994 Ford pickup on their driveway and know that that car is important enough to them that if that car breaks down, they're losing their job. That's important. You know, so you know that that person is going to listen to the message. But when you're Labour and can't go and knock on that door simply because you're Labour, we were the only people in America that couldn't exercise their First Amendment rights to knock on a door. And that was union members. That made no sense. The CEOs could knock on any door that they wanted. Of course, they lived so far off the street, they never actually went on the doors. But Citizens United also allowed us, and this is the first election, where we can have these conversations.
John, do you think you'll be endorsing?
Sorry?
Will you be endorsing candidates?
Not in the primaries.
Okay.
We will probably endorse in the general election, because endorsement releases money on a national basis. Our PACs are national, so we will release money on a national basis to allow us to work in these campaigns. We are not, from the FLCIO, going to put money into any campaign. We will put our resources in campaigns to people who believe it. But I'm perfectly happy if it's candidates who are out there who don't have a pro-work and family, pro-union agenda. I'm perfectly happy. I'm going to tell you one other story, and then I've got to stop telling you stories because I'm going to get myself in trouble. But in 1997, some of you may remember this, in 1997, the Democratic Party, in literally a smoke-filled room in Espanola, and that's, boy, talk about a cliche, emerged with a candidate called Eric Serna. And we went, you know, we were there with a perfectly good candidate, a man who went on to be a fighter who came from a political family who would have been a great candidate and turned out to be a great congressman, and will eventually, although I challenged him that we need another Paul Wellstone, and he's 12 years away from being Paul. But we ended up with Tom Udall because a number of us said, we're not going to put up with this. And back when I used to have money, before I became involved in all this movement there, I used to be a film producer. But back when I used to have money, you could write large checks. About 5 of us, all attorneys up in Santa Fe, I'm a recovering attorney now, but 5 of us, all attorneys up in Santa Fe, wrote a check for $10,000 apiece to the Green Party and got a candidate. By the way, for 5 and 7, then we discovered she was crazy. So, Carol Miller, she was our candidate no matter what. But we came in a very close third and got a Republican, Bill Redmond, who was the luckiest guy in the world, because Greg Nunes, who had ran against Richardson for 14 years, decided he couldn't beat Richardson, he wasn't going to run in that election. Redmond still calls himself congressman, by the way, runs a laundromat, interestingly enough. Became the Republican congressman for 10 months, but we ended up with a great congressman and a man, given time, will be a great senator. You know, but the Senate takes a little longer to find your feet. And don't think we won't do that again. I will live, you know, God forbid, with somebody who's anti-union, anti-progressive for a short period of time, rather than put somebody in who shakes my hand and stabs me in the back. This New Labour thing is not working for me. I live with New Labour. That never worked for me there. That's how you ended up with the Tory government, what's happening in Britain right now. And I'm not going to go down that path again. Pro-Labour, pro-progressive, pro-people candidate.